Hi Stampers, this is Amy Whalen. Welcome to amy'sinklings.com. Today I wanted to show you how to use our new stamp set called Lighthearted Leaves that will go live on September 1st. I wanted to show you how you could use it in an unusual way to make it into a Christmas tree. So come join me. So this is our new Lighthearted Leaves stamp set. It's featured in our new holiday catalog that will be going live on September 1st. And as you can see, it's beautiful. This is a particular stamp that caught my attention immediately. It is the one that made my heart go pitter-patter when I first looked at the catalog. But immediately I looked at this and I thought, hey, I see a Christmas tree. So that's what I did with this card, and I will show you how. Now this particular stamp set does have a set of framelits that it coordinates with. This is the Leaflets Framelits dies. It's in our annual catalog, and I'm going to insert a picture. I'm going to start with a piece of 4 3/4 inch by 3.5 inches of Mossy Meadow cardstock. And I'm going to stamp it with Versamark because I don't know if you can tell from this card, but it is heat embossed with our iridescent ice embossing powder. It's absolutely stunning. So let me go ahead and put a piece of paper underneath. Alright, and so here we go. Oh, before I forget, I'm going to use our embossing buddy, because whenever you emboss, heat emboss, you always want to use this. It takes out the static and any oil or moisture from your fingertips, because you don't want that embossing powder to stick where it's not supposed to. Alright, so I intentionally started by stamping kind of off like that. Okay, and then I left room for a tree that's going to go here. In fact, here it is. I've already stamped it in black stays on, and then I cut it out with the framelits on the Big Shot, and that's going to go here. So I kind of used that as a gauge of where the next tree should go, and I wanted it to overlap a little bit, so I'm going to put this one here. And then the next one's going to go very close, almost touching. And then this last one's going to go on the side, just kind of peeking over the edge. Okay? So let me cover that up and get out our iridescent ice embossing powder. I like to keep it in a container like this so that I can just scoop it on and let the excess fall right back into the container. I really like this iridescent ice embossing powder. I think it's absolutely stunning, and it's really perfect for the holidays too, when it's cold and icy outside. So let's go ahead and heat that up, and I'll go ahead and move this out because I don't like embossing powder getting stuck all over me. Let's get our heat gun. It's going to be a little loud, so just bear with me. Isn't that pretty? Let me see. It didn't photograph very well, so I don't know if you can tell that it's very glittery. Can you see that? Alright, so let's go ahead. We've done this. I already stamped this with stays on vanilla, very vanilla cardstock, and I die cut it out with the framelit. And then I went ahead and I wanted to color them with the Mossy Meadow marker that matches the cardstock, and I just haphazardly picked certain leaves to color. There really was no rhyme or reason, but I knew that I wanted to have some of them green, some of them cherry cobbler, and then I also wanted some of them to be metallic gold. So that was our Mossy Meadow marker. I'm using the paintbrush tip, and I'll do some more in cherry cobbler, reserving some for the gold. And the gold is really stunning. It's not a product that I have demoed before, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Okay, so looks like I need to touch up one of those leaves with green. I missed a spot. Okay, so here is the product I used for the gold. It's our Gold Glitz Dazzling Details. It goes on just like puffy paint did back in the day, and I'm just squeezing it. Let me zoom in. Sorry if the camera's shaking. I'm just squeezing it on. And I find that if I squeeze it on and then kind of move my hand and don't mess with it, it fills the spot just fine. It's when I start to try to color it in like that that I end up with something I don't like. So that's really all I did. Isn't that beautiful? It does take a little bit of time to dry, so before you assemble the card, just make sure it's dried and ready to go. Oh, I think that's so pretty. All right, so let's zoom back out, or in, out. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside to dry. What I did also use was a piece of 5.5 inch by 1 inch of cherry cobbler cardstock. I used our triple banner punch to punch both sides. Then I switched over to our Memento ink pad. I prefer to stamp with this over the StazOn. The reason that I use the StazOn is because it is a permanent ink and I didn't want the markers to mess up the coloring of the outline of the tree here. So that's why I did that in StazOn, but I do really prefer to work with Memento. Now this is another stamp in the same set. It says Believe, which I thought was perfect. Kind of reminded me of Christmas programs. And let's go ahead and put the top on that. And then I took another stamp from that same stamp set and the cherry cobbler ink pad. Let me bring my paper back in. And then I just inked up the end of it, and I went as far up as this leaf right here, and I stamped both sides. Actually, just kind of gauge what's left, what can fit without going over the word Believe. This I'm actually stamping right now in cherry cobbler, but now that I think of it, last night I did it in Versamark, which kind of gives you the same impression but maybe a little bit lighter. So let's look at that. Let's look at the difference. This was stamped with cherry cobbler ink, and this one was stamped with Versamark, so it is a little bit lighter. I think I do prefer the Versamark, but that's up to you. Look at that. That's terrible. It looks like I'm bleeding. All right, so then I just assembled it all together. I have the Mossy Meadow again. I believe I said was 4 3/4 inches by 3.5. Then I have the vanilla that I believe measures 5 by 3 3/4, if I'm not mistaken. I have that popped up on dimensionals on top of soft suede. That's your standard 4.5 by 5.5. Excuse me, I'm never going to say this right, but you know what I'm talking about. Half of a cardstock folded. I did pop this base up with dimensionals, and I did pop up the tree with dimensionals also. Oh, and if you can notice, I did at the very end, I added a little bit of that same Gold Glitz paint right there. So, give it a try, guys. This is a lovely stamp set that again will be made available to you on September 1st. It's in our new holiday catalog. And it does have the framelits in our annual catalog that coincide with it. So if you don't have a Stampin' Up! Consultant, I would love to help you with any of your stamping needs. And if you don't have a holiday catalog, I would love to send one to you in the mail. So just give me a holler or an email at amysinklings@gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye-bye.